Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Okiki Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today I have a fellow Nigerian with me on the podcast. I was really excited about this. When I saw her name, I was like, yeah, for sure. I'm pumped to do this one. And her name's Adeyinka, but I think you said you normally go by Adi or Ade. So she's a graphic designer, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her entrepreneurial journey. When I checked out her website, I was really impressed by her designs, and I feel like she just has a very nice artistic eye. So I'm very excited to hear more about her and her journey. So thanks for coming to the show, Ade.
Thank you.
And please tell us about you and your background, and how did you get into creating your brand and your business today?
Okay, so I feel like mine's is pretty chill. So I was in school for mass comm, and I swore I was going to be a film producer. And so when I ended up leaving college, I was like, okay, I need to find a production agency and then just go with it. And actually, there was a period where I did go the ad route, where I thought I would be an art director, but like back then, like I could not take the critiques. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going back to media. So right after, I ended up working for EW Scripts as a journalist, as a digital producer, and it was cool. I liked it. It was pretty fun, but like the pay like sucked. It was so bad, which is pretty normal for like a lot of people that work at the bottom of the news. So I was like, no, I gotta go. Something has to switch. And so I ended up moving down here because I was in Fort Myers. I came down to Fort Lauderdale with the idea that I was going to be a producer at another position. And literally like the day before, they rescinded the offer. And so
Wow.
I was like so embarrassed. I was so like irritated. And it was around that time that my boyfriend was like, well, you've been saying that you wanted a studio for so long, so like why don't you start one? And like Nigerians are like Nigerians are so particular. Like we're such overachievers, so it's like, no, it's not perfect. I can't do it until X, Y, and Z. And so he was like, I need branding. How about you test it on me, and then we go from there. And so that's honestly how I got started. And I was like, you know what? Like, I already am not like feeling this whole 9 to 5, this whole 9 to 5 vibe. So then I took the leap this year, and it's been pretty cool.
So you really just started this year?
Yeah, like full on branding. Like I've been designing for about like 5 or 6 years, but like full on branding was this year.
And would you say that's what inspired you to be an entrepreneur then?
Being in the news world, I was like, oh no, this wasn't it. And it was kind of scary because I was like, how old was I at the time? I had just graduated, and I was like, I still have like 40 years left, you know, like this isn't the part where I'm supposed to start breaking down and feeling like, oh, my midlife crisis. You know, usually people have that when they're like 40, closer to the time that they're supposed to retire. And so I was like, something has to shake. I have to find something else that I like and I can do on a consistent basis. And that's what led me down this role.
What was your biggest obstacle then in launching this business, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, there was a couple. So I had to get over the idea that like everything had to be perfect. There's no such thing, right? So what it was really doing was slowing down like my whole timeline. And so I had to I think my leak said it, like done is better than perfect. Like just get version 1 done so that like you can move forward and then tweak as you go, because you'll still only be at version 1 no matter how many times you tweak it before anyone sees it, and there will always be a version 2, 3, 4. And I think the other thing that was like extremely hard was like, I'm an introvert, I'm very shy. It was like putting myself out there. Because of course, like you don't want anyone to see your version 1, but like if no one sees your version 1, then like there's nothing for anyone to like be sold on. So I had to get like, it's very hard like as an entrepreneur wearing all those hats and like trying to juggle like, okay, I'm going to do marketing on this day, and I have to still make sure that my clients are happy. Like I had to make sure that I planned out my days, and like I'm failing right now, but I'm going to try next month to like be and show up on Instagram all the time, like, and remind people like, this is the problem that I'm here to solve. And you'll be much better off being partnered with me.
And I wanted to actually talk about your heritage too, because we both have similar heritage. Did you find it kind of, I guess, difficult to tell your parents or your family, like, this is something you wanted to do?
Oh my gosh, yes. So we're Nigerian, so it's like, it's like if you're not in STEM, you have a problem, you know? Yeah. And it's honestly not even surprising to see like a whole bunch of Nigerians excelling as like doctors and lawyers. So when you divert from that, your parents are giving you the side eye, and there's so much pressure, even if they don't say anything. Like I remember when I was getting ready to like apply for colleges, I had like this Lovey Ajayi moment that like, I'm just not going to tell them what my major is until they just show up at graduation.
Wow.
Because
oh my
like
God.
that's scary, you know, like my dad was not feeling it. So I eventually just told them, and honestly, any person that's like Nigerian or Caribbean, it's like, you have to be your own backbone, because it's so ingrained in you with the way that they raised us. It's like, you don't want to disappoint them, you know, like they don't even really have to say anything. You just know you have the pressure on your back. It's like, I don't want to be a disappointment, because Nigerians love to brag. It's like, oh, my son is a doctor. Like, you want them to brag on you too. Like,
yeah.
So it was very hard. Like, and it didn't really hit until like I got like a big client, and then my mom was like, okay, there might be something to this. Okay.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, the reason I asked that too is like, when I told my parents that I was interested in entrepreneurship, like I did feel like they were supportive, but I also felt that internal pressure, like you said, like they don't have to say anything, but you're like, man, I just want to do this well, because this isn't STEM, and I want to be able to, you know, like show them that I can make it with this too. And you just feel this like need to like somehow give back to them. So that's why I brought it up. So what initiatives then did you take to create your brand and really find your clients? Like you said, you just launched this business this year. So how did you actually establish in a way that you could get those like good clients and kind of set the bar and make those kind of people attracted to you?
Oh my gosh, it's so much that goes into it. And I would say the first thing that took me the absolute longest was trying to figure out like my aesthetic and my messaging. I see like a lot of designers, they'll be like, oh, can someone look at my portfolio XYZ? Like you have to tailor it down. Like you can't one say that you do 1,000,001 things, right? Because that confuses the people that come to you. So I had to get clear on, I just do branding and website. That's it. I don't do marketing. I have an experience in that. I have experience being video producers and stuff like that. But for the type of clients that I want, like I want it to be very, very clear. I work with women in fashion, skin, beauty spaces. Like and so I had to get clear on that. And then secondly, I had to make sure that my portfolio like showed that. You know, like I feel like people really don't understand that like you are on borrowed time when someone comes on your website. So you have to like deliver, and it has to be very clear. Because I had been working for so long, I was like, okay, I don't want to go through that. Oh, someone pays me like $150 for a website. So I didn't want to go through that. And secondly, I don't know, like some people can do it over my dead body. I just can't. And secondly, for the type of how do I explain it? For the type of materials that I needed, someone who was going to pay me $150 for a website wouldn't want to do a photo shoot, wouldn't want to do any of that. So I basically took inspiration from Abby from Wayfair Design, and I made my own personal projects. So that's really what I did. Like I did it for my boyfriend, but my boyfriend wasn't my ideal client. So you don't have to put every single thing that you do, every single person that you work with in your portfolio.
Right.
Literally, I tell people you can put 3 or 4, and if they land who it is that you want, like literally they'll be sold on it. So I worked for about like maybe like a month and a half or 2 months on like 4 projects. And also I did like a couple brand audits on my Instagram page to get the word out. And so, okay, now I have my messaging. Now I have my aesthetic of the people that I want. Now I have a portfolio that appeals to this audience. And so now I had to market. And so I just took to Instagram because I used to be a social media coordinator. Like I sucked for my own personal, like I really did. But like I knew how to make money. Like I was working for like a cosmetic surgery center, and like I made them like $500,000 on like social media. So it's for that, I was just like, okay, it really is less about how many people you have. It's more about like how engaged are people that you have with you, and then they'll do the sharing for you. So I basically took to Instagram stories. Like the feed doesn't do the most of the work unless you do like quotes and stuff. It's really IG stories. And so I was like, okay, guys, well, here's some tips. But what really got it popping was brand audits. So I was like, okay, guys, send me your website and I'm going to do a brand audit and I'm going to redo your above the fold. And like people just started messaging me. People that like my friends who aren't my ideal clients, but they wanted to support, started sharing, and then their friends started following. And so I ended up getting like some top tier, like, oh, this person does your favorite campaign leads, you know?
Because you're showing them what your work looks like.
Exactly.
With those audits.
I started positioning myself as an expert. Like it's not good enough. And I think Tiffany Tolliver explains it perfectly. It's not good enough to just be a good designer. You need to be able to position yourself as the go-to. Like I can solve your problem. This is why it's not working. And so that's what I was doing on IG story. Your lash company isn't really getting any leads because X, Y, Z. And with this is going to make you more money. Like that's all people want to hear. I want to make more money. Like the design looks great. Like I want it to look good, but help them realize this looks good and this makes someone want to pay you more money. And that's why it's worth the investment. And so lastly, like I think I listed like 3 or 4 steps. You have to be prepared ahead of time. Like you're not going to be perfect, but make sure all your systems are in place so that if you do end up blowing up, like it's easier. So I made sure that, like before I had Dubsado, I had like MailChimp set up so that if someone filled out a form, like something automatically got sent back. You know, that slows down time, and you could possibly lose a lead, like by taking forever to respond back to people. So it's like making sure that after you've done everything to bring in leads, that you have a system that's sustainable for you, like over time.
That's so cool. No, I love that. That was a rich answer, and I'm sure the audience will get so much value out of that. You mentioned that you're an introvert. So how do you, as an introvert, excel in a kind of space where you do have to put yourself out there? Because it's kind of how it is.
It's hard because it's your feelings like taking over. But at the end of the day, I would say if you're doing your best, like no one even really picks up on it, if that makes any sense. What I can't stand the most is like people are following you for a reason. That's one. And so like when you constantly have to remind people, oh, like I'm so nervous, I'm sweating, like it makes them, you know, it makes them tune into the fact that you're nervous and you're sweating, and it pushes you off from being like this expert. So it's like you have to, even if you are introverted, you have to like literally like psych yourself up. That's what I used to do. I'd be like, okay, run through it and then do it to the best of your ability. Because most times, like some of your favorite YouTubers are introverts. Like Raven Elise is an introvert, but she doesn't say it 1,000,001 times. Like it's always people that say it like 1,000,001 times, and it's just like, okay, I wasn't really paying attention to that, but now you're saying it and it's taken away from what I'm trying to learn from you. It's like, get out of your own head that people are paying attention to you more than you are. They're not. There's so much content out there. So while you have their attention, kill it. Like, just get out of your own head, say what you need to say, practice it if need be, and then use that time that you have to the best of your ability.
Awesome. That's really cool. And like, actually, one of my favorite podcasters, Jenna Kutcher, she's also apparently an introvert, yet she has a massive following. So I love that you said that, because just because I guess your energy is different, doesn't mean you can't accomplish those goals. Also, did you have any mentors along the way when you were launching your business?
No, I didn't. But I think what helped me was that I was willing to pay for whatever information. So I didn't have anyone who knew what it was that I was trying to do. And when I would talk to my friends, like they would say certain things that like they thought was best, and I'd be like, I don't think that's it. So I paid for courses. I think the first one I paid for was like Shareworthy Design or something like that. That is honestly the best thing you could ever do for your business. And I think that's honestly why I didn't have to settle for like the $150 websites and XYZ. I paid for people who are where I wanted to be, and then I learned from them. I would say you don't have to wait for a mentor. Mentors are great, right? But mentors are busy. Like, it can't be one-sided, and I've heard Myleik Teele, like the creator of Curlbox, say it all the time. A mentor also wants something from you, you know? So if you can't find one and you have nothing to offer, pay for someone's time. You know, courses are all the rave right now. Like, people are making so much money off of courses. So find one that gives the results that you want, and then invest in yourself.
Right. Yeah, I've just spun 2 recently, and I've definitely, like in the summer, both from Jenna Kutcher actually, and then I think I'm looking into a couple. So yeah, I agree. Like, it's just crazy to see how much knowledge those people have, and then it kind of helps you step up your game and what you're trying to do. What were you hoping then to offer this industry?
Oh my gosh. So in the beginning, I knew that I wanted to implement like strategy with design, but then I became to get like really popular. And so what I did was like, I started, they say branding is really what people say when you're not in the room. When I started speaking to like some of the leads, like they were like, well, I came to you because you have this showcase of like women of color, and it's not apparent. It's like some of the big names in branding, like their portfolios don't showcase towards women of color. And so that's what I feel like I can add to it, is that women of color in these spaces that don't necessarily want to look like their lighter counterparts still want to be able to show and showcase their brand story in a way that's aesthetically pleasing and strategic. So I feel like I push service-based and e-commerce-based business that are led by women of color to be like at the forefront and look the part and function like it on the back end as well.
Awesome. Also, was your choice of location part of your business strategy as well? Like, I know you said you got there looking for another job. Did you stay in that space, in that area, or did you end up moving to a place where
okay. Yeah, I just moved down home. Like, I was already here before college. So where I am now is like Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, it has nothing to do.
Okay. I was like, maybe there's something about Fort Lauderdale.
No, I was just following the money, and I was following whoever was going to hire me, and it just so happened to be like back home. So
Right. Yeah, just because when I check the business thing, and you might have to educate me, I'm calling in from Canada, of course, but like, I saw like Miami, Florida. So I was like, oh, she lives in Miami? Like, sweet. So is that all like the neighboring kind of cities then? Is that where you are kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, but like a lot of people in Fort Lauderdale will tell you like it's just easier to just say Miami, because it's literally like 20-30 minutes away.
Gotcha.
And it was really just for like SEO purposes. But most of the people that I work with like are not from Florida. It's usually like the hub of like Atlanta. What Black professionals are.
Right. Interesting.
So, and then oddly enough, like I have someone from Boston. So I'm expecting more of Atlanta and possibly like Houston. Houston's another hub for Black professionals. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was just curious. I'm like, oh, is there a seat in Miami for this too? I was like, awesome. Yeah, definitely been hearing a lot about the other two cities as well.
Mhm.
And looks like we're already at our last question. This has been a fun interview. So I wanted to ask you, what do you value the most then about being an entrepreneur?
I honestly value the freedom of being able to do whatever it is that I would like to do. And I
Awesome.
honestly most value spending a huge chunk of my time doing what I love to do. Because
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of people that work the 9 to 5 scope, and there's nothing wrong with 9 to 5 if you love it. You come in and they promise you're going to do something, and then like 3 4 months later it's like here's these other duties that have nothing to do with what you came here in the first place. And so your
Right.
time is divided, and there might like the gap between what you love doing becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So
Right.
I love the fact that like not only do I get to set my own time, but majority of what I do I love doing. I
Mhm.
love hopping on calls and figuring out, okay, well, why is it that you're slowing down on leads? Like maybe it could be that you didn't position your opt-in higher,
Mhm.
um having a job, like it sounds so corny, that fulfills you and makes you very happy. Like it really does a number to like your mental health.
Mm.
And girl, it's not a shocker that I don't remember by what year they said like half of the job market will probably be like business owners, you know,
Right.
compared to before where everyone was working for someone else.
Yeah.
So those two things I think are by far the most fulfilling, and it makes it worth it. And
Mhm.
I really pray to God I don't go back.
Oh yeah. No, that's awesome. No, it's so true. I think and the landscape of work is just changing. And the funny thing is we can't even rely on these like quote unquote like stable jobs anymore because so
Mhm.
much has changed in the economy. Like people do lose their jobs. So it's kind of good to always have something of your own as well, whether you do it full time or whether it's just something on the side. So I kind of like that how you talk about freedom and independence. Yeah. So thanks for sharing that. And I guess the last thing for the audience, is there any projects or things that you have coming up that you would like our audience to know about?
Oh my gosh. So because like I'm of a higher price point, I had like a lot of people asking me like, oh my gosh, what are you gonna do in the future that we could possibly get in on? I haven't announced it yet, but I'm working on semi-custom branding templates and website templates.
Ooh.
So yeah, so for people that aren't at the price point that they can work with me, it widens it up so that okay, here's a template and here's a guide that shows like what your ideal customer might be and why this brand would appeal to them. And then you could just get started, because I had just closed like I think like a couple of weeks ago, like a 9K website. Everyone doesn't have $9,000,
Mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
I'm really excited. I was pushing for December, but definitely like the end of winter.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that with us, Adeyinka. Thanks so much for coming to the Okiki podcast. I'll
It was so
definitely be,
fun.
I think I'm already following you on Instagram, so I'll definitely be keeping up with your projects and everything. And thanks so much for doing this today for our audience.
Thank you. Bye, guys.